Hi, I'm Jan Falconer and I'm a children's author of the Sukie Queen of Cats series and the Jan Time series, and I'm also a new podcaster. The podcast was really never about the podcast. Hi, I thought I'd tell you about my podcast and how it came to be. If you've been following my journey over the past few months, you might have noticed something rather unexpected. I've launched a podcast. Now, if you'd asked me at the beginning of this year whether I planned to start a podcast, I probably would have laughed. And why? Not because I disliked the idea, simply because I already had enough on my plate to do. There was writing, lots of writing. There was publishing. There was editing. There was book design. And then there was my cat Sukie. There was learning how the publishing world actually works. There was a website to build, books to launch, and about 1,001 things I didn't know how to do. At that point, my focus was very simple. I wanted to write stories. Stories that families could enjoy together. That was the plan, and it still is. Everything else came afterwards. What interests me now is that people often look at what I'm doing and see lots of separate projects. The Sukie books, the mini stories, the read alouds, the Jan Time series, not Netflix Natters. They see the podcast. From the outside, it can look as though I woke up one morning and I decided to do a little bit of everything. Well, that isn't what actually happened at all. You see, each thing grew naturally from the one before it. And at the centre of it all is my cat Sukie, which, if you know Sukie, this is exactly the way she believes life should be, because Sukie is firmly convinced that she is not just the queen of cats, but the queen of everything. And to be fair, she's probably right. When the first book was being published, something unexpected happened. Families started getting in touch, which was a bit strange. Some wanted signed books, but the books didn't exist yet. Some wanted school visits, and they weren't even in the same country. Some wanted ideas to help children enjoy reading. Others simply wanted practical suggestions that they could use at home. Those conversations mattered because they revealed to me something more important. Most adults understand that reading matters, learning matters. They want to read with children. They want to create those moments together. But life is very busy. People are tired. They work so hard. Families are juggling work, school, activities, and all the usual chaos that comes from modern day life. That led to the mini stories, short stories, read alouds, videos, simple stories, stories designed for real life. Then came not Netflix Natters. Yes, that was a response to over-curated television for children I saw. I also wanted it to be a place to share observations, ideas and questions, the invisible lessons children learn, the culture of home, the things that often shape children far more than we realise. Then people started asking different questions, and this really happened after the launch. How to build a bedtime routine. I wish I could read aloud. What if my child won't sit still? How do I encourage reading without turning it into a battlefield? Those conversations, and eventually they all became Jan time. Again, not because I'd planned it, but because I could see a need and people asked for it. And I listened and I took action. And somewhere amongst all that, the podcast appeared. Not because a marketing expert told me, you need one, Jan. Not because it was fashionable. Not because I discovered some magical shortcut, because I can assure you I haven't. Quite the opposite. I realised that I wanted to learn something new. I needed to start this messily, imperfectly, and if you've seen the first one, it is imperfect, and learn as I went. So I bought microphones, I learned software, I learned editing, and I learned what happens when technology decides it has other plans, and that does happen. I've balanced equipment on cookbooks. I've spent far too long trying to work out which camera was actually recording. Yes, that's a new one. And all of this was happening while I was reviewing proofs for Sukie's second book and learning enough just in InDesign to become mildly proficient and mildly dangerous. It's been chaotic. It has been frustrating, and occasionally it's been hilarious and completely worth it. Because the truth is this: the podcast was never really about the podcast. No. The podcast is about creating another way to share ideas. And that to me is really important. It's another way to tell stories and another way to support families to raise confident learners. It's also another way to explore things that are fascinating to me: reading, learning, confidence, childhood, family culture, the small things that often make the biggest difference. This podcast simply gave those conversations a voice, and that's important. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson I've learned through all this entire process. Most meaningful things don't arrive fully formed. They take work. They grow. One idea leads to another. One conversation creates a new question. One project reveals the next step. Looking back now, the books, the mini-stories, Jan Time, Not Netflix, Natters, and the podcast don't feel like separate projects at all. They feel like the foundations or different branches of the same tree. And sitting on top of that tree, surveying the kingdom that she will have complete confidence, is Sukie. Sukie, Queen of Cats. Sukie, Queen of everything. Exactly as she intended. So if you enjoyed being part of this journey, I'd love you to join me. You can listen to this podcast, explore Jan Time, read the Sukie stories and access free resources for families inside the club. Just visit janfalconerauthor.com/join the club. And if you'd like to support the channel, please subscribe and leave a message below, or even like. I'd love to know, what project have you started recently without knowing exactly where it's going to lead? Until the next time, take care.